I know that the Las Vegas Raiders, there was a report that came out earlier this week that potentially, hey, they're receiving a lot of interest on Derek Carr. Is there anything you can give us on that?
Well, let's start with that. That report's by Vinny Bonsignore. He's a good friend of mine, and a 120% trustworthy source. That said, what Vinny actually said was the Raiders were receiving interest about Carr, not that the Raiders were shopping Carr. And people took that and twisted it, as they do, those kinds of things. And I have no doubt the Raiders are receiving interest on Carr. I mean, the guy comes off of a pretty good season. Wasn't really helped by his defense, had good numbers, all that kind of stuff. And, every team's thirsty for a quarterback right now. So they probably are receiving interest. That said, there are teams that would be in the market for Carr, but the Raiders would have to have a plan in place to do something about that. In the end, I think that if anybody traded for Carr, the Texans, that would be interesting simply because the issue with his brother, originally was David Carr was down there with the Texans, and then, in that whole situation. But the Bears, I think, would be the other team that would be in the market there, and that would be kind of interesting. Would that put the Raiders in the market for Watson? Maybe. And if they got enough compensation, they might be able to do that. I don't think they're actively pursuing Watson, as a lot of people have implied. And again, Watson is not actually available for trade right now. But I think that, if you're the Raiders, you're kind of looking at this situation and saying, okay, well, can we make this move? Let's play this out. They've tried to do some other moves that haven't panned out. John Gruden wanted Kyler Murray and Le'Veon Bell. His plan was to get Antonio Brown, Lev Bell, and Kyler Murray all in the same fell swoop. Well, he got one of those three, and Antonio Brown, and then he got punted. When he made a fool of himself there, I guess, at the Raiders training camp. So they've tried things like that before. We'll see. Other league rumblings, Carson Wentz. There are some teams that are inquiring. Again, the Texans picked up the phone there. The Colts picked up the phone there to kind of see what's going on with that. So, I think that there are a number of teams right now. The quarterback carousel is really like where it's at. Everybody's kind of trying to find their landing spot in that. But I would caution fans to do this. It was his quarterback carousel. If he wasn't good enough to win with another team, what makes you think he's going to be good enough to win with yours?
Oh, and I think the carousel, how many other NFL teams outside of maybe a few that have a legitimate MVP style elite quarterback? We see the conversation even dating back to when Peyton was in the league still, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. There was far and few in between of how many elite quarterbacks. However, there's a bunch of young, exciting, talented quarterbacks as well. Obviously, the position has evolved year after year. We're starting to see the some of these older guys kind of fade off, and even Aaron Rodgers at his age, playing the way that he played, very phenomenal. He's a true outlier, I think, for the position, the mobility. And then you look at young guys like Deshaun Watson. You look at Lamar Jackson, his ability to scramble. You look at Patrick Mahomes, just all-around athletic elite ability. You see the position changing altogether. And so I do believe a lot of people want to argue as well. Do you believe that scheme is also an important factor? Can they marry those two together? That's what a lot of organizations try to do, but how often does it really work out?
Well, I think the most important thing you do with a quarterback is draft and develop. Right? But fans don't have patience for that, and so you've either got to just stick to your guns and tune out the noise, or you're going to be going to the well. There was an interesting stat that was brought up yesterday, and that is that one quarterback, from 2009 to 2016, and the reason we stop it at 2016 is because for the quarterbacks from 2017 on are still on their first year contract, right? So no quarterback from 2016 all the way back to 2009 is still on the team that drafted him. The only one that is Carson Wentz, out of the first round. The only quarterback drafted the first round of that span is Carson Wentz. Now you go back and you look at some of these other quarterbacks. Some of them are older than that. Some of them weren't first rounders. Basically, if they drafted and developed you, then you kind of stuck around, or they found you later on. You look at Russ Wilson's or things like that they found later. But it's so tough right now to find a quarterback. And when you find a guy, when you get a situation like Pat Mahomes, that's literally once in a generation. And so the idea that you're going to go out there and get a once-in-a-generation quarterback more than once in a generation is pretty funny to me because the title of it's self-defeating. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think that if you're looking for a quarterback out there, everybody's like, well, you got to keep going until you find the guy and all this kind of stuff. You got to draft and develop. You got to find the right guy and do that. Trading for a guy, sometimes that works. But again, in most cases, if a guy couldn't win with the team that drafted and developed, why is he going to win with your team? Now there are exceptions, for every guy out there that you trade for, every Joe Flacco that you trade for, he got drafted and developed somewhere else. You find a Ryan Tannehill, that finds his home. But those examples are fewer and far between. So people need to pump the brakes and be more patient. This is fanatical obsession in the offseason. We got to find a guy right now. Well, we're trying. you know, but we're also not going to blow everything up and roll the dice put all our chips on one guy who couldn't win somewhere else.